Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy with our new moon mandala for the new moon on July 4th, 2016. So I have quite an assortment of cards here, some very interesting energies. In the center, I have 4 cards from a mini tarot deck, just a little tarot deck. But it's great for a new moon because it's black. Okay, so we have this black center. And then I decided to pull from the Shaman oracle cards. I tend to use them as single cards in readings, but they can be really interesting together. And so I decided to take this opportunity to put them together. And then I drew 2 also from the Fairies Oracle, one here and one here. And then I have a new deck in preparation, thinking far in advance for the Halloween season. And this is, I can't remember what it is. It's called the Ghosts and Spirits Tarot. Ghosts and Spirits. And it's really fascinating because of all the ghost stories that are in it. So I'm looking for an excuse to use it to start to get in touch with it. And I thought, the new moon is a perfect time for that. Or we'll see. We had some really interesting things come up here. So, just so that you know, energies of opposites here, here, here. Actually, these are not opposites, but with this in the middle, it is. What else was I thinking? Lady of the Harvest and something else. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do to start is, Zippy, leave that cat alone. Leave that cat alone. We might get some interruptions like that. Definitely, she's in a testing phase lately. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up, to cover these cards in the middle, I'm going to pick up my webcam and bring it up and over instead of trying to lift all of these middle cards. So I'm going to start with the middle. For this reading, I'm going to frequently be referring to books because some of these are newer decks and some of them I just would like to get. As you know, if you've been with me for any length of time, for the Shaman, I always like to read the voices that they have in the Shaman's Oracle. This Ghosts and Spirits deck I'm not familiar enough with, and probably for the Pook I might read some, but I'm fairly familiar with the Fairies Oracle, but sometimes it's good to read from the guidebook. So here we go. I'm lifting the webcam. I don't know if this is going to be deeply disorienting for people or not. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, so how can I get this so that it's not totally nauseating? Okay, I hope that wasn't too awful, you guys. I hope that wasn't too awful. Here we go. All right, so these are the tarot cards that we have. We have the Page of Pentacles, the Sun card, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Page of Swords. So only one major arcana, and this is indicating, now this is the dark of the moon. I should have oriented that. This is the dark of the moon. So this is when things have kind of been cleared, for new beginnings. So this is when, now in the next 2 weeks, is when the moon, the energy of the moon is increasing. It's now waning, it's finished, and next it's going to start to grow into the full. So I get the impression, you know, you have this dark background, that these are things that are growing, are developing in our lives. And the Sun card to me would indicate that the spotlight is slowly shifting toward us. So we have the bluebird of happiness right there, rooster crowing, okay, essentially indicating that others are crowing about us. So increased attention, increased popularity, the spotlight is shifting so that it's shining on us. We have 2 pages here. So beginnings or messages. Messages could be very important in the next 2 weeks. Messages about money, messages involving strategies or possible conflicts. Strategies or conflicts. So this is central to this moon, central here. So either some new stuff going on, but the feeling I'm getting is what I just said. We may have a lot of messages, a lot of information, a lot of interaction with other people. Kind of, because again, there's the pages are beginnings, immaturity, you know, they might be surfacey kinds of things. They might just, you know, there might not be a lot of depth to them. There's information that we need. But, you know, not deep or critical. Let me just put it that way. And then we have the lovely Nine of Pentacles here. We might be distributing something. I get the feeling that this Page of Pentacles might be distributing. The Nine of Pentacles is nearly at completion, right? 10 being the completion. So this is a position of security and abundance here. So you're beginning to relax at this point. So I could see this being, again, you know, kind of distributing some of your wealth, distributing some of your seeds for the next season or the next step of a process. Again, this is strategies. Swords are a lot about strategies and responsibilities. So it could be that you're part of your strategy is going to be spreading your success, spreading your seeds, so to speak. I think of pentacles as seeds around. And this, again, is going to bring us success and attention, positive attention. Okay, so now I'm going to shift the camera. I know that it has been shifting to some extent as I've been here. You know, I don't stay perfectly still. So now I'm going to shift the camera. Again, my apologies if this is a little bit on the nauseating side for people watching. Okay, so we're back to this. I wonder if I can, sorry. Yeah, let me move it out here a little bit. Okay. So let me think here about next step. I think the next step is going to be what I usually do, which is the set of 4. And so I'm going to do the Shaman cards next. This is going to be our next venture into this month. Okay, so we had the 4 here. So we've actually got 12. Yeah, we've got 12 cards. 12 cards. Okay. So just briefly what we have here. Ancestor of boundaries, spirit of love, dancer of life, hunter of mysteries. And I thought when I first laid these out, it's so cool that we have, I think there's a total of 5 different, yeah, because we don't have a shaman. There are 5 different sort of classes of these, I don't know what you'd call them. It's divided into 5 parts. Zippy! That's right. You get in here and you just lay down. And we've got 4 of them. There's no repetition. And to me, that indicates that whatever we're going through in the next 2 weeks is going to kind of hit on various aspects of our development, various aspects of life. So that could even be that this, maybe we are going to be shining our light. We're going to be looking at various aspects of life. Or it could be that others are going to be looking at various aspects of our life. The sun is, even though it normally shows somebody kind of sheltered behind a wall, so there's a lot of potential, and it shows a child that's developing, but still the sun is shining. It's a blessing, but it's also kind of public. It's kind of a public card. So we may be quite public, especially we've got 2 messenger cards here. We might be quite public with various aspects of our lives. Whether that's telling people about ourselves or investigating various things. So let's see, the ancestor of boundaries. Where are our ancestors? And I'll hold this card up so that you can see it a little bit better. It's one of those wonderful cave paintings. These are based on cave paintings. They are not necessarily exactly those paintings. I am the ancestor of boundaries. I help you to recognize the places where you must not venture, as well as those where you can draw upon your full strength, the places you must guard. I can give you the energy you need to break free from restraint and run alongside me on the winds of change. When you stand on the spot where the road stretches into other lands and you require the strength to move forward, look for me and I will carry you onward for as long as you need. Interesting. So it's like establishing boundaries, guarding boundaries, but also breaking through boundaries. Very interesting. Okay. So there's our ancestor of boundaries. The next thing that we have here is the spirit of love. And let me find my spirits. Spirits forward, spirits back. Spirits are forward. Come on, where's our spirit of love? Oh, there it is. All right. So when I first saw this card, and I'm still a little skeptical, but I thought, spirit of love, where is the love here? I don't know. I just see a bunch of red dots. But I'm thinking it's supposed to be bird-like. I don't know if you can see that well, but it looks like it has wings. So, and red being passion. So here's the voice of the spirit of love. I am the spirit of love. I surround you at every moment of your life and touch every aspect of your being. I can guide you, transform you, turn your life upside down. I permeate everything around you and I enable you to relate more positively to the life you live, to those who share it with you, and to the greater forces with which you interact. I am abstract and personal, distant and direct. My power is everywhere and transcends everything it touches. So this is spiritual love. This is spiritual love, which I think is partly signified there with those feathers. Okay, the feather fan. Okay, so this is celestial love, spiritual love, expansive love, not romantic love. Okay, next one we have is the funky dancer of life. Dancer of life. Look like people with chicken feet. These are really intriguing. The images are very intriguing. I think I couldn't be without this. It's just too funky. I love it. Dancer of Life. All right, here's the voice for the Dancer of Life. You had noticed before this is going to be a long video. I've got too many cards, and these cards have stories. I am the dancer of life. I celebrate all that is, all that has been, all that will be. I dance throughout all the human and spiritual realms, following the bright thread of light that connects everything that has being. I touch love, I teach strength, and I impart a belief in the sacredness of all living things. I bring with me the power that breaks down all barriers, that survives in the face of all odds, that shines forth in even the darkest of moments. So very powerful, positive card here. Very powerful. Again, you know, was it the last reading? Was it the full moon reading? Also had this like birth theme to it. Again, I feel like that's really coming through here. You know, if anybody's into farming, I get that feeling for this. And we have Lady of the Harvest up here, that this could also relate to crops and plants and, you know, bringing things to life, to fruitfulness during this time, early July. Okay, and then lastly, the mysterious Hunter of Mysteries. Let me find the Hunter of Mysteries in the guidebook. Hunters are the last set. Hunter of Mysteries. Maybe he's the Hunter of Mysteries because he looks ghost-like. He's just about worn away there, as opposed to some of the other cards. Okay. The Hunter of Mysteries. I am the Hunter of Mysteries. I seek the depths beyond depths of being in order to find enlightenment. So kind of Buddha with a bow and arrow. I am a truth seeker who pursues truth in order to bring it to you who desires it. I teach the magic that inhabits the inner side of being. I accompany you when you are in need of deep understanding and a sense of connection to every part of life. With me, you discover harmony and a sense of belonging. I think this might be connected to some of the messages that we have here about opposites that we'll be getting to here. What's interesting to me here is that although we did have a little bit where I was referring back to the cards in the middle, but the messages on the outside seem quite different from the messages on the inside. So let's look again here. We have the Spirit of Boundaries, which was both about guarding boundaries and breaking through boundaries. This card was more about breaking through boundaries. And I think that this was also about overcoming any obstacles to positive, life-giving force. So it's interesting. Our ancestor of boundaries, kind of from what we've read so far, is actually about breaking down boundaries. Breaking boundaries. Okay. All right, so next I'm going to do the fairies cards. Fairies cards, which are top and bottom. These positions don't have any particular significance. It's just where I put them. Lady of the harvest. Okay, so this is familiar to everybody, you know, the harvest time, harvest time. It's the fruits of your labors, which is kind of, okay, so the fruits of your labors would be like the Nine of Pentacles here. Very similar. I think I mentioned that earlier. Nine of Pentacles, fruits of your labors. A little early in the season for some people to be having fruits of their labors, literal fruits of their labors. But for some of you, it could be something that you've been working on and you start to see the fruits of your labors, harvest. She's also about preserving. You can see from the figures here are on the dried up end of things. So this is the more advanced state of the harvest. Not first harvest, but late harvest. Okay, canning time. What are you wanting to preserve? That might be some of the energies. We have a Two of Pentacles kind of energy here, and even with the Dancer of Life. What are you wanting to harvest and preserve? And what are you going to just let go to seed, or, you know, take a natural end and not preserve? She's asking you these questions. She can also indicate that something is at an end or nearing an end. So I think it's important to be aware of that. It may not end during this cycle, this 2 weeks, but this is your warning, your heads up. Something is maturing and reaching a conclusion. And the next card, the Pook, is telling you to see the good in the bad and the bad in the good. Okay, not that he's one of the challengers of the fairy deck. He's not your cuddly cozy fairy, and he's not a prince of fairies or anything like that. He's one of the challengers. Here it says, you know, and what I'm thinking is that he may be related to this in terms of if something is ending, you know, there's often a bittersweet time to any end that has been productive. You know, if you're thinking of the harvest, okay, so you had a good season, you're harvesting, and now a lot of things around are drying up, dying, whatever the case may be. And it's a change. It's a change that requires some adjustment. And so the Pook is here to help us see the good in the bad and the bad in the good, to see things in a balanced way. You know, I was just getting a sense here, because in Alabama we are having a pretty serious drought, a very dry season starting. Even in the spring we didn't get very much rain, and the summer has been a scorcher. She may indicate that the next 2 weeks are going to remain again very dry. Not good news here for any sort of harvest. But the Pook is telling us, see the good in the bad and the bad in the good. Paradox and resolution, the shape changer. And I think in this context, whoops, sorry, one of my beautiful and battered labradorite stones just took a dive. I don't have a big enough space, and look at that, cards falling everywhere. So the Pook, I'm going to read about the Pook. It is a time for the resolution of seeming contradictions, and we're going to get some other contradictions here as well. Okay, it is a time for the resolution of seeming contradictions and paradoxes in this situation. So I think that's especially true if something is going to be ending. Someone or some part of the situation is cloaked in confusion, and our muddled thoughts must be stripped away, revealing truth. We just need to think about it. The information we need is now available to us. And we have these pages. If there's something you need to know, go looking, go asking, inquire. And some of this stuff may actually just come to us. And as soon as we have the burst of insight and get it, it's time for us to make changes based on our newly clear understanding. Alternatively, it may be time for us to make a reality check on the good bad labels we put on things. Yeah, I think the drought is bad. Maybe it's not. I don't know. We don't know the ultimate consequences of it. And again, we may have to exercise that skill with some of the information that comes to us. I think this is saying that regardless of the information that comes our way, it's useful, even if it's not necessarily perfectly welcome. It's useful and will help us move along. Make a list of the good, possibly even surprising things about this situation, and another list about the bad ones. If you are not in the habit of seeing the good in the bad and the bad in the good, having preferred a black and white world rather than one with colors, you may need some help in learning to do this well. I think we all are challenged by this at different times, depending on what's at stake. But certainly people who are outside of our situation are more likely to see things objectively and help us see things in this way. So consider asking another person if you feel mired, if you feel like the information you're getting is negative, or the attention, zippy, nope, or the attention that you're getting is somehow negative. And it could be the attention you are getting is actually very positive attention, but there's still a negative side to it. Maybe it puts a lot of new demands on you that you weren't ready for or something like that. So again, or if you're courting information or attention, you're wanting attention, stop and consider how much you can take at any given time. And I say that because I often can get overwhelmed by attention, being the introvert that I am. Okay, so there's the two fairy cards. And now let's go to the ghosts and spirits. And I'm going to do the Two of Pentacles first. And I'll try to bring this up so you can see the spooky nature of these wonderful cards. I just think they're really cool, Two of Pentacles. And I'm not into dark decks, but I realized really for Halloween, I just felt like I needed a Halloween deck or two. And something on the darker end of things, because I'm really not inclined that way. And so that was my challenge of seeing the good and the bad. The bad and the good was like, okay, Jennifer, you've got to embrace some of the dark, spooky stuff. And this is a really cool deck. I love the stories. Okay. So, Two of Pentacles in this deck. And the Pentacles, the whole tarot overlay on this, I think, was really not necessary. And I'm not going to abide by it very much. But they do have a pentacle here and a pentacle here. You'll see in the next card that it has very little to do with that in the end. Okay. So the person who created this deck, which was Lisa Hunt, interpreted these two pentacles as kind of like yin and yang, opposites. Opposites. All right, so here we go. The ancient Romans believed in good ghosts and bad ghosts. The good ghosts, known as lares, were envisioned as blissful dancing youths. They served as tutelary spirits and were venerated for their auspicious presence. The malevolent lemures were ambulant, meaning walking, ambulant skeletons that haunted homes, threatening the inhabitants. The spirits converge in a confluence of order and chaos. Okay, good spirits being order, bad spirits being chaos. And so they're saying that they're kind of converging upon one another and creating kind of a tumult, just an unsettled situation. The patterns suggest that our own behavior can determine which type of ghost will emerge. The two pentacles in opposite corners suggest light and dark, conscious and unconscious, yin and yang. So, in its position over here, it is between the spirit of love and the dancer of life. So to me, this is the spirit of love was again about celestial, spiritual love. And so this is kind of spirit and matter being the two coins that we are trying to balance here, or the yin and the yang of the next 2-week period. The things that my feeling here is that they will flip sort of back and forth in importance. Sometimes one will be important, sometimes the others. Then one, then the other. But this card is definitely also suggesting that we need to think about what we're manifesting here. You know, this card, the swords, they can be about good things like, insight, having new insight, new strategies, things like that. But it's very different from this card, which is a more innocent card accepting a blessing. So are we somehow inviting conflict into our life by brandishing this sword? Are we accepting the good things in our lives? Okay, so which ghosts are we inviting? Which ghosts are we tempting? And again, this coming 2 weeks, we could have a balance. We could be flip-flopping. Maybe things can't be always, lovely, innocent blessings. There needs to be a balance between these two things. Not to necessarily despise, see the good and the bad and the good. Not to necessarily despise the ambulant skeletons that are threatening, and this is a threatening ghost as well. Threatening the inhabitants. So not necessarily to despise them. Let them have their part. Let them have their say. But what are you really embracing? What are you truly inviting into your life? Again, I think this applies. See the good in the bad in the good, whatever happens. I think that this could very well apply to, this is 4th of July in the United States. This is a big national holiday, very patriotic. I think it's worth reflecting for those of you who are into that sort of thing about what our country is creating. Are we inviting in the bad or the good? Again, for those of you who are interested in that kind of reflection, can you see the good and the bad and the good? Okay, let's look at the Seven of Wands, which is the ghost of Samuel and Saul. Can I get that up even closer so you can just see how freakish and horrible it is? How gross it is. What's funny here is that the guy who seems most alive with the bright hands, that's the ghost. The guy that looks like the ghoul down below is actually the person who called to the ghost. I'm not that familiar with the biblical stories, all of the biblical stories, but we're going to investigate now. So some of you you'll may get more out of this than I do. So here we are. Seven of Wands, the ghost of Samuel. In the first book of Samuel, Saul, the first king of Israel, disguised himself and sought the help of the medium of Endor to call up the ghost of Samuel from his grave. Okay, ancestor of boundaries, crossing boundaries, crossing boundaries, hunting mysteries. Definitely, he went hunting mysteries. So it's very interesting that this fell between these two cards. Okay, the ghost emerged and angrily demanded to know why he was disturbed. And again, seeking messages, seeking messages. But is this the first angry card that we have? I would say so. Most of them are quite positive. Okay, so so I think we have a protector in any situation in which we are crossing these boundaries. Saul did not. Okay. And I'm not saying that we're crossing. I have no intention. I do not do mediumship, you know. So other people might be into this. I am not. So I'm not saying that you need to do that. But I think the message here is, you know, beware of the boundaries that you're crossing. You could make somebody powerful quite angry. Because here we go. The ghost emerged and angrily demanded to know why he was disturbed. And it could be that our boundaries are going to be crossed and we are Samuel. I mean, I know that, you know, I have pretty strong boundaries. And, yep, I would not be pleased if somebody crossed them. Saul, who had been ignored by God and the prophets due to his disobedience, then beseeched the prophet for guidance. But instead of offering help, Samuel reproached Saul for disobeying God and presaged the defeat of his, in other words, prophesied, right? The defeat of his army at the hands of the Philistines. So it's like he whacked him on the head and said, "You idiot, why would I help you? You know, you've been disobedient, you can't be honest, you know." And not only that, but your army is going to fail in your battle with the Philistines, either way. Samuel's dominating posture reflects defiance. I think defiance is a bad word. He's just angry. He's not defying anything except maybe, I mean, I don't know. Maybe in those times, if you call up a ghost, they must obey you or something. And he's saying, no, I'm not going to do anything for you. Faces of tormented souls, which I can barely see, so I'm sure that you probably cannot. Maybe you can, over the shoulder of Samuel. And then all of those red things are supposed to be like fireworks, like the missiles of war. He glowers at Saul, who is surrounded by swirls of chaos. Faces of tormented souls are reminders of the sadness of war. All is ablaze in heated contention. So this is the Seven of Swords, which is traditionally a card of defending your higher ground. So you have actually established a boundary. So this is appropriate for this card. You know, there is a boundary in the traditional cards. You're standing up on a hill and other people are kind of trying to knock you down. They see your advantage and they're wanting the advantage for themselves. And so they're trying to knock you down. In this case, there's an indication again, communication. Trying to get information or assistance to help you when you have not been completely honest in your own means of doing things. And so you cross a boundary, you make somebody mad, or somebody crosses your boundaries that you don't trust. Again, you kind of knock them back down. You don't have to prophesy their doom. But again, I read this because I don't know what aspect of that story is going to really ring true for other people. I would say if you're going to cross boundaries in order to seek mysteries, seek answers, we do have this protector here, someone to push us through, and then we have a protector here. Then we need to be careful about not offending. What is, are we moving into this with the right intention? I would say that this is positive, and so I wouldn't worry about that. I feel like our intentions are good. The intentions may even have to do with spiritual understanding, some of the larger questions of life, even our life purpose, potentially, or how to be more engaged with life. I think the mysteries we're seeking have to do with answers, and since it's in conjunction here with this Nine of Pentacles, it might be we're seeking for the mysteries of abundance and security. I think the Pook here is reminding us to honor where we're at. We might see it as bad, but they're saying see the good in the bad. And if you have some less than desirable situations in your life right now, see how they could be positive or how they have their own opportunities. Again, if maybe your harvest is maybe not going quite as planned, to think creatively about it. But I think that's all. I'm not seeing a lot of other connections. I hear a little dog. She's really, I don't know if you can hear growling in the background. She's really wanting to explode. She's barely controlling herself. What's your problem? She's jealous of the cat up on the bed. I'm just taking another look here to see if there's anything else. I'm curious if this rings a bell with anybody, is somehow resonates. What is the mystery you're hunting? What is the mystery you're hunting? He was wanting help and probably insight into what would happen in the future. So what are we, what is the mystery that we're hunting? Could be the same thing. What are you growling at anyway? Growling at nothing. Well, she's a puppy. She can growl at nothing, right? I suppose. The mysteries of life, where boundaries are, the mysteries of spiritual understanding, spiritual love, maybe even how to overcome our own boundaries to having a fuller spiritual love. I'm reading Frankenstein right now, so the mystery of life comes to mind as well. I would recommend that book, as it turns out. It's taken me a long time to face it, but it's really quite different from our popular I don't know if I'd say pop culture, popular culture, or what do they say when people take over? Oh, I can't think of it. Old lady brain. Um, it's not a connotation. Anyway, where you kind of take over the meaning of something by creating a popular depiction of it that's not true. And thus far in my reading of Frankenstein, that is very true. That it's a much different and very relevant, very, very relevant in terms of mysteries of life and attitudes, boundaries, and questioning your desire for fame to some extent. Um, but I'm rambling. I'm rambling, and it's 46 minutes. So we're calling it done with our full moon mandala. I hope you guys found it interesting and perhaps useful as the next 2 weeks unfold. Take care. Bye bye.